Did you know that I also stream games on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, usually around 6 or 7 US Central Time, and on Mondays whenever I feel like it because I'm inconsistent. I hope to see you there. Okay, so this is Streaming Was a Mistake by Raised, and it's a video about piracy, at least as how it relates to streaming services. And this is something I've thought about like 10-ish years ago, 10, 15 years ago-ish. No, probably not 15, but yeah, like 10 years ago, piracy was way down when pretty much everything was on Netflix and only Netflix. But ever since everyone has started pulling their stuff off of Netflix so they can launch their own streaming services because, oh, we'll make more money that way. Yeah, piracy has gone right back up. When all movies and TV shows were lumped on one platform, people were okay with paying for it. So piracy went down. But now that everybody is taking their stuff back off of Netflix so they can make their own version of it, piracy is going back up because nobody wants to pay for 15 different services to watch all the shows they want to watch. Assuming that's what this video is about.
Piracy is making a major comeback.
Yes, it is.
No, not that kind.
Yeah.
Video piracy.
Yep.
Remember when streaming was supposed to be the hero that killed piracy? Yeah, that didn't happen.
I mean,
the reasons why are obvious.
It did for a little while. Again, when everything was on Netflix, it didn't kill piracy completely, but it died down substantially when it was all Netflix.
Subscription prices are skyrocketing, shows are getting pulled from libraries, and exclusive content is being scattered across a dozen different services.
Yeah.
Instead of making our lives easier, streaming has morphed into cable 2.0.
Basically.
Expensive, fragmented, and frustrating. Want to watch Severance? You'll need Apple TV. Rewatch The Office? Well, it used to be on Netflix, but now you'll need Peacock. Sports? One game is on DAZN, another on Fubo.
I don't know what either of those are.
Keep track of where everything is. These days...
Yeah, that is a problem I have all the time. I go to want to watch something, and I literally have to Google where to watch whatever it is, because I don't know who hosts what anymore. You know? And I don't go on Netflix or Max or Disney Plus and just browse. Like, when I want to watch something, I know exactly what I want to watch. You know, I know exactly what I'm in the mood for. But then I have to look up which of the platforms has it so I can actually go and watch it.
Finding that one specific movie you want to watch feels like a chore. You're
It really
Google,
does.
Maybe even a VPN, and while you're at it, may as well pull out your credit card because it's probably on a streaming service that you don't have.
Yeah.
Somehow, we've never had more entertainment available, yet we're constantly struggling to find and afford the stuff we actually want to watch. Piracy has once again become the most convenient option, but it doesn't have to be. Look at music. They eventually figured it out. Imagine how stupid it would be if you could only listen to Kendrick Lamar on Spotify.
See, yeah, it works for Spotify because Spotify is the platform. I mean, technically it's kind of split between Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music, but a lot of the stuff is shared across all three. You know, it's not exclusive to one. Well, some of them are exclusive to one, but most music is shared across all of them. But they don't do that with TV shows. Instead, TV shows get licensed to one at a time, which is the problem. I don't know why they don't just license the shows to multiple platforms. Like, just give it to all platforms. It's really that easy. Just give it to all platforms. You know, then people still watch it. But I guess it's because then the money's not being funneled directly to them. I don't know.
Spotify, well, Drake was exclusive to Apple Music. Actually, given their beef, they might like that. So, never mind. In the early 2000s, music piracy, fueled by sites like Napster and LimeWire, had the music industry in full-blown panic. Piracy wasn't just winning because it was free, it was winning because it offered a superior service.
Yeah.
Why would anyone bother going?
Yeah, that was the thing. Again, like Gabe Newell says, Piracy is not a pricing issue, it's a service issue. It was easier to get on LimeWire or Kazaa and just download the music than having to get up, drive to Walmart, go to their music section, and flip through all the CDs trying to find the one CD that had the one song you wanted, buy it, bring it back home, and then rip it. Instead of doing all that, just download. Just search and download. That's all it took. You know, it was a service issue, not a pricing issue. It's not that people didn't want to pay for the music. It was just a lot easier to just download.
Going out to a store to buy a $10 CD just to hear that one song they liked. Napster and LimeWire gave you exactly what you wanted. The music industry slowly came to terms with this being the future of music consumption, and in 2003, Apple launched the iTunes Music Store, selling digital downloads for 99 cents a song. For music lovers who weren't already pirating music, iTunes was incredible. It made music more accessible, arguably more affordable, and completely reshaped how we discover new artists.
I'd say arguably more affordable. Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't more affordable because it was actually more expensive in some cases. Because, like, I've had CDs that have like 15 songs on them. Buy the CD at Walmart for $10-12, but if you're buying the songs one at a time on iTunes, then to buy the whole album, it would be $15 plus tax. But then again, if you're only buying the, you know, if it's a 15-song CD and there's only 5 songs you like off of it, well then technically you pay for the 5 you want and don't have to spend the other, you know, don't, versus buying the CD, you save by not spending the extra $5 on the 10 songs you don't want. So kind of works. Kind of was cheaper, kind of wasn't.
But for the pirates, it didn't offer anything they didn't already have.
True.
The game changer didn't arrive until 2008, when Spotify gave music pirates a real reason to quit. Suddenly, the iTunes model was obsolete. We stopped buying music altogether and started paying a monthly fee for all-you-can-stream access. The price was...
See, it wasn't Spotify I used in those days, it was Pandora. I think that was the name of it. Whatever happened to Pandora? I never hear about it anymore. Yeah, I don't think I ever paid for Pandora. I just dealt with the ads, but yeah, Pandora was the one I used.
Right, and the convenience was too. It became clear that if you wanted to actually stop piracy, you simply had to provide a better alternative.
I would have thought that was obvious.
At the same time as the music industry was seeing this massive transformation, the internet was making video piracy a lot more accessible. Regulators' efforts to combat video piracy weren't working. They mostly relied on vague threats and public service announcements like this one.
Yeah, and at one point they even had some ISPs threaten to end your, to like ban you from internet service if you were downloading movies. I got one of those letters once. I mean, what? But yeah. But then they realized going after the people was never going to work. It was easier, it was more effective to go after the services providing the downloads rather than people downloading them.
The only success that came from this PSA was an unintentional meme about downloading a car.
Yep.
Which, let's be honest, we all would if we could.
Yep.
You downloaded this vehicle.
Yeah. So the only thing that came out of it was the meme. You wouldn't download a car. Fuck you, I would if I could.
Yes.
Well, that's stealing.
How's it stealing? I made an exact copy. I didn't steal anything from anyone.
You took potential profits from Toyota.
I wasn't going to buy
Potential
a Hilux, by the way.
profits.
They've lost no money. This hurts no one.
That's actually quite a good argument for online piracy.
I pirated this vehicle.
When Netflix had begun pivoting from mailing out DVD rentals into becoming an internet streaming company, this was a real solution, combating piracy with convenience, much like Spotify did for music. Why bother dealing with shady torrent sites, pop-up ads for who knows what, and low-quality bootlegs when you could pay a few bucks a month for unlimited, high-quality content?
Yeah.
Of course, piracy didn't disappear entirely, but illegally downloading content that was readily available on Netflix seemed kind of pointless. This was the streaming golden age. Netflix was on its way to becoming a central place for all your favorite movies and TV shows, that is, until competition arrived. Suddenly, your favorite movies and shows weren't all in one place anymore. Disney Plus, Hulu, Peacock, and a slew.
Oh, God. This just hurts to look at. I thought I was joking when I said 50. No, I said 15, but it's way more than that, isn't it? In 2007, Hulu, Netflix, and Prime. Now there's 6. So that'd be 30, 42 listed here alone. And I know that's not all of them. Ugh.
Two of others entered the arena, all vying for your attention and your dollars. Unlike Spotify and Apple Music, which offer virtually the same music libraries, video streaming took a completely different turn. Content on one platform cannot coexist somewhere else. We were apparently all naive to
Why not, though?
These streaming services have now made it clear that nothing is permanent. Warner Brothers Discovery pulled Westworld and a bunch of other HBO shows from HBO Max to avoid paying residuals. Disney Plus has been caught removing original films and series without warning, and Netflix is notorious for constantly rotating its library, making it impossible to rely on the service for long-term access to anything. Even digital purchases aren't safe
and
anymore.
That is why people do pirate. It's not even just because they have to pay for multiple services, but when you go to pirate, you can find what you're looking for. I think it's just as simple as that. You can find what you're looking for. Because with these, you can't. Sometimes whatever you're looking for, it is not available anywhere anymore. And you have to wait till it comes back into rotation. If it ever does. That is, like, those are the challenges they need to solve. Stop taking stuff down, and start, like, just host it everywhere. You know? Or maybe lump it all back into one platform again. If you want to stop piracy, that's what you need to do.
Amazon has been caught deleting or restricting access to movies that customers have actually bought. So let me get this straight. You pay for a streaming service, you get emotionally invested in a show, and then one day it vanishes without a trace? And the only surefire way to watch it whenever you want is to download it illegally?
No, the Pirate Bay.
That'll definitely kill piracy.
I mean, I don't know what that website is.
The wars began as a battle royale for content supremacy. Licensing disputes
was that
and
Battletoads I just saw?
Contracts have soured the entire industry. Like, why could Disney Plus subscribers in the US watch The Bear, while those in Australia couldn't? These kinds of headaches are a big part of why streaming companies have morphed into becoming their own production studios. Netflix originals like Squid Game should, in theory, be available forever and accessible everywhere. This evolution of streaming companies producing their own content means you're no longer subscribing to the platform with the best catalog of acquisitions. You're essentially investing into a single studio that's hopefully producing something good.
Yeah,
Netflix
basically
is planning to drop a staggering $18 billion on content in 2025 alone, with the lion's share going to originals. Like finally delivering the last season of Stranger Things, even if the years of delays make it hard for the actors to still pass as kids, but whatever.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What? At some point, Netflix and its rivals will start seeing diminishing returns on their massive spending on original content and on what they can reasonably charge subscribers. If Netflix decided to spend
Yeah, that's the other thing. They keep upping prices and reducing the amount of service you get for the prices. Like I can't remember which one it was, but I know one of them took their cheapest tier, left it in place, but added ads to it, and then added a higher level tier to get rid of the ads. Like, are you serious? You're paying for a subscription and you still have to deal with ads. That's just... And then, at some point, like, this is a bubble that is going to pop. Eventually, they are going to up their subscription fees to the point that people just won't pay them.
the $100 billion on new content, would you be willing to shell out $200 a month for it?
No.
Probably not. There's only so much content we can consume, and it's not like every original is a hit. The few must-watch movies and shows remain scattered across too many different platforms. According to Deloitte's Digital Media Trends Report, the average US streaming video subscriber pays for 4 services, adding up to a hefty $69 per month.
Yeah, 4 sounds about right. I think that's what we're doing here. Netflix, well, depends on if you want to count Prime or not, because we don't pay for Prime to watch stuff on Prime. Mostly we literally just buy a handful of movies we want out of Prime directly instead of watching them on Prime Video. But we do Max. Yeah, and say if we don't count Prime, we've got Max, Hulu, Disney, and Netflix. So that would be 4. And Prime is kind of just a bonus because we pay for Prime so that I have Twitch Prime and we also get all the free shipping.
That's insane, and almost certainly unsustainable, considering that over 50% of Gen Z and millennials surveyed had canceled at least one paid streaming service in the last 6 months.
And see, here's the thing, if it was just me, I would not be paying for any of them because I barely watch any of them. You know, most of what I do to entertain myself is YouTube and Twitch. So, yeah, if it were me, I probably would not be paying for any of these services. Which is what it was saying here, even though he didn't highlight it. Above 50% for both Gen Z and millennials are also likely to be strong social media users and gamers. Yeah, like, I either watch YouTube, watch Twitch, or I'm gaming. Sometimes I'm watching YouTube while I'm gaming, while there's a stream open on my third monitor, just so I can lurk and support someone. I think I actually have Twitch open on my third monitor right now, lurking somewhere in someone's stream. So yeah, like, he doesn't even mention that, but that is a big thing. Like, millennials and Gen Z, we don't even watch as much traditional media because social media, YouTube, Twitch, and our games, they got all our attention.
Surveyed had canceled at least one paid streaming service in the last 6 months. Because streaming has become so expensive, we're going to start seeing more people picking a streaming service like they pick a sports team, crossing their fingers that the new releases will be good enough to justify sticking with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why?
Well, you know.
Or, just don't pay for any of them and just find a good site hosted in the Caribbean to pay for. Yeah.
I'll support the team.
Sure, you could drop Netflix after binging Inventing Anna, just so you could afford to subscribe to Apple TV for Ted Lasso, but are you really going to go through that hassle every single month? That's incredibly annoying.
Yeah. Especially with how hard they make it to cancel subscriptions on some of these. It would be a pain to just subscribe for 1 month, binge whatever show, cancel so you can subscribe to a different one the next month, to binge one show, to cancel, subscribe to another. That would be such a pain. Like I said, I wouldn't even bother with any of them.
The reality is, if you can't afford to subscribe to both, your options are to either pirate Ted Lasso or just never watch it. Neither option is a win for the consumer. Unfortunately, it's not just the fractured nature of exclusive content that's the problem. It's that streaming companies now have absolute control over everything. They get to call all the shots, from what gets greenlit and the budget to how it's released. Warner Brothers famously killed Batgirl, even though it was already filmed, and they had already sunk $90 million into it.
Oh, that's just Warner Bros. Being Warner Bros. Because there's a tax break, like a huge tax break that they can get for any project that is canceled as long as it hasn't actually been released. They just keep canceling things. They get them made so that they spent the maximum budget on them and then cancel them. So they get a huge tax break on it. That's why they killed Warner Bros. That's why they killed the Roadrunner movie that they did. You know, they just keep killing projects because they get a tax break out of it.
Why? Purely for a tax write-off.
Yep.
I'm sure their fans really love that. And have you noticed how those genuinely hilarious R-rated comedy films that define the 2000s aren't being made anymore? It's not because people don't want them, it's because streaming companies aren't interested in making them. Whether it's due to the relentless competition or Wall Street's insatiable hunger for growth, Netflix, once the golden child of video streaming, has steadily become less and less consumer friendly.
All of them have.
Netflix practically encouraged password sharing. It was part of their brand identity. Love is sharing a password. They tweeted that in 2017. In a complete reversal, they declared war on account sharing in 2023, forcing users to either pay extra for additional profiles or risk getting locked out. Other streaming platforms quickly followed suit. This wasn't about security or fairness, it was a blatant attempt to squeeze more money out of subscribers. To add insult to injury, Bezos, who has enough money to take joyrides to space, began forcing ads on Prime Video users even though they're already paying for the service.
Yep.
And predictably, many other streaming companies, including Netflix, have jumped on the bandwagon, offering ad-supported tiers that cost about the same as what you were paying already. This kind of
so it's just all of them.
greed is exactly what drives people
I
to
mentioned
look
that
for
earlier.
alternatives. And when all streaming services are doing the same thing, the only alternative is piracy.
Well, pirating is
pretty
stealing.
much.
We didn't steal it, okay? We just downloaded it.
No, the website is called moviepirate.com.
And the other one is called Free Movies /
I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here because I also use one called stolenmovies.free.
In recent years, Netflix has become increasingly concerned about how easily people can avoid paying for their service. In the competition section of Netflix
Yeah, but what are you gonna do about it?
annual review, piracy gets mentioned several times. Back when Netflix first launched, its on-demand streaming experience had a major advantage over most pirate sites.
Again,
The most common way to pirate
let's say again, the thing is you have to have a service that is easier, more convenient to use than piracy in order to get people to not pirate things. If you are not making it easier than piracy, then piracy is what people are going to resort to.
pirate something was with torrents, which required at least some technical know-how, and you had to wait for the content to
Barely.
download. Today, most pirate sites offer on-demand streaming
I wouldn't know.
with a user experience that's virtually identical to Netflix, but with more content and no subscription fee.
Yeah.
Netflix pirate
Like that's the thing is, I've seen how some of these sites work, and yeah, they look exactly like, I wouldn't say Netflix, but they look very convincingly like any other streaming site. The only difference is you don't have to log in, and everything is available, including things you cannot find otherwise. And people wonder why people go to those sites. Well, these people wonder why people go to those sites. And by these people, I mean corporate executives. And it's like they couldn't imagine people breaking the law as if they don't do the same thing. Except for them, breaking the law is just an expense they have to pay. They get a fine that is not even a slap on the wrist for them. That's a whole other debate.
piracy concerns are valid. They are losing billions of dollars, but it's not like the company is anywhere close to collapsing. And
They're not losing money, technically. What they're doing is estimating how much more they would have made. Right? They're framing it as they're losing money, but they didn't lose any money. Right? All they're doing is estimating how much more they might have made if people had to use their service. Because again, even if people didn't have access to piracy, they probably would choose just one or two services, and those would be the only ones they subscribe to, and they would just settle for something on those ones.
Valid. They are losing billions of dollars, but it's not like the company is anywhere close to collapsing. In fact, despite doing everything in their power...
Yeah, despite all of the piracy that is happening, their stock continues to rise, so is it even hurting them?
...to piss off their own customers, like raising prices, introducing ads, and cracking down on password sharing, 2024 was one of their best years. It seems people have a surprising amount of loyalty to Netflix, even if the value proposition isn't always great. Subscriptions are incredibly sticky. Once you sign up for one, you're likely to stay subscribed. If Netflix was actually suffering considerably from piracy, then they would be much more aggressive in trying to shut down these illicit sites, but even then, new ones will inevitably pop up to take their place.
Yep.
So it's not really a long-term
So long as there's
solution.
the service issue.
If consolidation of streaming services isn't going to happen, then Netflix's only real path forward is to continue making high-quality exclusive content at a price point that makes people happy to pay for it.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The one thing that would really potentially put a dent in piracy again is consolidating all of these back into one service, or at the very least, making everything available on every service. That would be the only way. And they're never going to do it.
Judging by their recent growth in membership, it seems to be working for them, at least for now. The same can't be said for some of the other streaming companies. Ideally, we shouldn't be advocating for piracy because content isn't free to produce, so it shouldn't be free to consume either. However, in the current streaming landscape, even with an abundance of high-quality content, having to subscribe to multiple services at once just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Piracy isn't going away. In fact, it will only intensify as these companies squeeze harder, driving consumers towards the very alternatives they claim to fight. The truth is simple. People don't pirate because they want to steal. They pirate because they're forced to, by inconvenience, outrageous prices, or content scarcity. And right now, streaming offers us all three.
I'd say it's really not the prices. I will say that right now, it's not the prices. It's the other two. It's the convenience factor, aka the service issue, and the content scarcity. If you cannot find what you want to watch anywhere else, you can always find it on a piracy site. You know, not saying you should go looking for it, but the fact is, these guys pull down popular media all the time that people do want to watch. So they have no choice but to go to one of these other sites because that's the only place they can watch it now. You know, that's their problem. That is a problem they've created for themselves.
3. If these companies truly want to stop piracy, then they need to look in the mirror, because they're the ones causing it.
Yep.
So until they choose to fix the broken system that they themselves have created, it's a pirate's life for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah. That's can't beat Steam. Seeing like that was like when Gabe said it, you know, that piracy is a service issue, not a pricing issue. You know, that is because Steam had the same impact on piracy that Netflix did. Gaming piracy went down when everything was on Steam. And I mean just Steam. But then when Origin, EA, started branching off their own one, and then Blizzard and Ubisoft and everyone else started creating their own versions of Steam, yeah, it stopped. Piracy of games started reoccurring because people liked it when all of video games were on one platform. And now that they're spread across a dozen different platforms, game piracy has gone back up.